What's up everybody? In today's video we're going to be showing you how to change the spark plugs on the 2009 Yamaha R6s. So whether you are changing your plugs just because time, or you googled why is my bike running like shit and every other comment said drain the fuel and change the plugs, today we're going to be showing you how to do that in the video. This isn't the worst job in the world, but there is a lot of disassembly required, so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get our seat off. So if you've never taken your seat off before, there's two number 5 hex head bolts in here, so we'll just go ahead and take these out. Alright, so now that our seat's off, we're going to go ahead and take our fuel tank off. There are 2 Allen head screws up on the top here. Go ahead and just buzz these off real quick. And yes, we are missing a washer, I am aware. Thank you for all that are going to comment about this. Alright, so we've got our top loosened. Now on the other side of the tank here, go ahead and take a number 10 socket and just break this through bolt loose. There is a nut plate on the other side, so you don't need a wrench or anything, just the number 10 socket. And now we'll go ahead and lift our tank up a little and disconnect the fuel lines. Alright, so we've got our tank lifted up here, and now we need to disconnect everything to get the tank off. So we've got 2 vent lines here, fuel line, and then 2 electrical connectors. So we're gonna go ahead and just start pulling these. We'll start with our 2 vent lines to get them out of the way, and then we'll just slide them through this little bracket. Then we'll go ahead and remove our electrical connector on the forward side. And we'll get the one on the back. Now we'll go ahead and take our clamp off the forward fuel line. And then our back fuel line has this special little plastic piece that kind of pops off. That holds everything together. Then we can just slide this right off the back. Okay, so now that our tank's off, we're going to go ahead and take the airbox off. We're going to start down here and just loosen up our clamps that hold the tubes onto the throttle bodies. And this is just a 5/32 Allen. We don't need to take these all the way off, we just need to loosen them so that it can slide out of the boots. So now that those are broken loose, we also have 2 clamps on the forward side here for your air intakes. So we'll just go ahead and loosen these both. This is just a Phillips screw on these ones. And then coming back on this side, we've got 2 hoses that have clamps on them, so we need to go ahead and get these off. And then on the front, we've got a number 10 bolt. And then this should give us enough play to kind of get everything out, and then we'll be able to get these lines off. Alright, and then the last thing we need to do now that it's free is just take this electrical connector off. And there's one more line on the back as well as this side. So we'll go ahead and just get these off, and then our airbox will be removed. Alright, so next we're going to take this little fairing off, and this is just to get rid of our intake duct, and that's really just to kind of buy us a little bit of space. You might be able to do it without having to do all this, but we're just gonna get everything out of the way because it's only 4 screws. Now that that's out of the way, we'll go ahead and we have another Phillips where this duct connects. Just loosen this, and then this will just slide right out. Alright, so now we just need to remove this little plastic or rubber cover. And that is pretty much the disassembly portion of this. You can see here's our 4 spark plugs right here. And we'll go ahead and get geared up to change these now. Alrighty, so now that we've got everything out of the way, we'll go ahead and actually change our spark plugs. So here's our 4 spark plugs. We're gonna do these 2. The 2 on the other side are pretty much the same. These are actually the 2 harder ones. But we're gonna take off the electrical connector. And then the boot just pops right out. There's no bolt or anything holding it down. So we'll go ahead and do that on the other one. All right, now that our little boots are off, we're gonna go ahead and take these out. There's plenty of different combinations that are gonna work, but what we're using, and this is gonna be really helpful, this is a 5/8 spark plug socket. On the inside, this has a rubber boot that kind of goes around and grabs the spark plug. If not, you're gonna be fishing the plug out of the hole. It is doable, but we've also got a wobble extension on it, and then we're gonna put a universal on and probably a 6-inch extension, and that should get us where we need to be. So we'll go ahead and put this down in our first hole. And now that that's broke loose, we can just use our hands. So we'll get this out and we'll just go ahead and repeat that same exact process on the other 3. Alright, so now that we've got our old plugs out, we've got our new plugs. And we're gonna go ahead and gap these, which we've already done, but the manual gives you the gap for this, and it is 24 to 28 thousandths. We've got 25 right here, and it is snug, so we are perfectly in between. Next thing we're gonna do is take just a little bit of anti-seize and put it on our plug, because we do not want these to not come out next time we have to do this. As you saw, they are buried in there very well. Next thing we need to do before we put these in, we've got our little boots, and we're going to go ahead and put just a little bit of dielectric grease in there. That's going to keep out any water and make sure our connection to the spark plug is good and clean. Alright, so our plug is in our socket. We'll go ahead and put that in there. We'll just get that going hand tight. Alright, she's snug. So now we've got a torque wrench, because the manual says that this should be 9 foot-pounds. So if you want to torque it and you're into that kind of thing, go ahead. Just keep in mind we are going to have to do this with a swivel on it because we can't get perfectly square. You're going to want to make sure that when you're torquing something like this, that you keep everything in line as much as you possibly can. If you start bending it off the side, it's going to actually affect your torque value. So right now we're pretty straight between that swivel and our wobble socket. So we'll go ahead and just torque this up to 9 foot-pounds. Alright, there we go. Now we'll slide this back on. And you need to push kind of hard onto these. You have to twist it to get it around that hose, but push and you'll feel it pop into place around those O-rings. just like that. So we'll go ahead and just put our electrical connector back on. That'll snap in place. Now we just need to do our last one, which is going to be pretty much exactly the same as the other three. Alright, now that our plugs are changed and our connectors are back on and everything's back together, we can go ahead and start reassembling. We'll start with this little plastic cover piece. This has to kind of get fished down in there under these wire harnesses. Next, what we can do is go ahead and put our air inlet ducts on. Little helpful tip for these and any other rubber components, just take a little bit of some kind of grease, like a Vaseline or anything, and just kind of lubricate the inside. Just a real light coating. It's going to help everything slide together real nicely. So we'll go ahead and do that on both ends. And then this can just slide back in. Onto its mount, and we'll go ahead and tighten that up with a screwdriver. Alright, so we're just finishing lubing up the boots for our airbox. We've got the 4 for the throttle bodies. We'll have to put the line on here, 2 lines here, bolt, line on the back, and then our sensor right there. So we'll go ahead and just get this slapped on. We'll get these boots lined up. Fall right on. We'll have to come to our air ducts and lift these up just a little bit as we push down. Those will go into place as well. So we'll finish getting everything lined up and start installing our bolts. Alright, so we've got our lines on and our air sensor back on. Finished tightening up that bolt. Now we just need to come to the bottom here and snug up all these connections for our boots that go to our throttle body. So after we get that done, we'll just go ahead and tighten up our air inlets, and then we can put the fuel tank back on. Alright, so we've got our air filter all back together, everything connected. We've got our 2x4 just set under here, and the aft mount is just kind of sitting in its spot. The bolt is not actually in yet, so we have plenty of room to move. We'll go ahead and start hooking everything up. We'll just start with the back line here. This fuel line will go on and you'll hear it snap into place. And then that also has this plastic lock that will clip right onto there. Moving forward, we'll hook up our other fuel connection. This one has a clamp, so we'll go ahead and just slide that up into place. Now we'll go ahead with our 2 electrical connectors. The white one went forward, and the green one was in the back next to our fuel line. And now our 2 vent lines, those will just slide back through this bracket. And then up onto their 2 mounts. So everything is reconnected. We're all done down here. We can go ahead and get rid of our 2x4, lower our tank back into place, and get our tank remounted. Alright, so we'll go ahead and just finish mounting everything. We've got our bolt holding the tank in. Got our 2 screws on the top here. We're still missing a washer, so that's just going to be an adventure for a different day. But we'll go ahead and snug that down a little bit. Now that that's on, we'll go ahead and just remount our seat. Slide that in there. We'll grab our number 6 and then should be good to go. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this video helped you guys. Happy riding.